In April of 1998, in the deserts of Utah, a gruesome discovery was made. A woman's body, wrapped in carpet and plastic, tightly bound with ropes, was found near a lonely stretch of road called Maidenwater Spring. Her identity was erased. Even her fingertips had been cut off. For more than 20 years, she was known only as the Maidenwater Jane Doe. Who was this woman? Why was she killed so brutally? And who wanted her to vanish without a trace? This is the haunting story of Lina Reyes-Geddes. Lina Aguirre Reyes was 37 years old in 1998. She had grown up in Mexico in a close, loving family before moving to the United States. Eventually she settled in Youngstown, Ohio, where she married Edward Geddes. Friends described Lina as warm, responsible, and deeply devoted to her family. She often called her relatives in Mexico, never going long without contact. For them, Lina was the kind of daughter and sister who always showed care and support. So when she stopped answering calls in April 1998, her family knew immediately that something was very wrong. That spring, Lina was planning a trip to visit her family in Mexico. She was last seen in Austintown, Ohio, preparing to fly to Dallas before traveling further south. But she never arrived. Her family waited at the airport. No one came. Their calls went unanswered. Lina had vanished. On April 20, 1998, highway workers in Garfield County, Utah, discovered a strange package near the roadside. Inside a rolled-up carpet, bound with tape and rope, was the body of a woman. Her fingertips and toes were cut off, a deliberate attempt to prevent identification. She had been shot in the head. Investigators were horrified by the level of planning and cruelty. This wasn't a random killing. Someone had wanted her to disappear forever. But who was she? And how had her body ended up more than 1,600 miles away from Ohio? For years, detectives chased leads but found nothing. They called her only the Maidenwater Jane Doe. Some believed she could be a victim of a serial killer. Investigators even looked into Scott Hannibal Kimball, a notorious murderer active at the time, but nothing ever linked him directly to the case. Her identity remained a mystery. Files piled up, photos sat in evidence boxes, and slowly, the case went cold. 2 decades later, in 2018, Utah authorities released a reconstructed image of the unidentified woman. Meanwhile, in Ohio, police renewed a missing person notice for Lina Reyes-Geddes, who had vanished back in 1998. That's when an amateur sleuth noticed something small but powerful. A tiny mole on the woman's ear. It matched Lina's photos. DNA from Lina's family in Mexico was tested against the remains. The results were undeniable. The Maidenwater Jane Doe was Lina Reyes-Geddes. After 20 long years, her name was finally restored. But if Lina had been found, who was responsible for her death? Investigators turned to her husband, Edward Geddes. Edward was quiet, almost ordinary in appearance, but evidence told a darker story. DNA from the ropes used to bind Lina matched Edward. He had been the one to murder her, to cut away her fingers, and to dump her body in the Utah desert. Edward never faced justice. In 2001, just 3 years after Lina's disappearance. He took his own life in Nevada. It was the ultimate act of cowardice, leaving Lina's family with no answers for decades. Finally, in 2022, Utah police announced the truth publicly. Lina's husband, Edward Geddes, was her killer. It had taken 24 years, advancements in DNA technology, and the persistence of investigators to solve the mystery. For Lina's family, the news was bittersweet. The truth was painful, but it ended decades of uncertainty. The story of Lina Reyes-Geddes is one of betrayal, science, and justice, delayed but not silenced. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest danger comes from the person closest to us. And it proves that even after decades, the dead still speak through the evidence they leave behind. Justice may be delayed, but it is never silenced. If you found this case compelling, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more chilling true crime stories. Because every case we tell is more than just a mystery. It's a life that deserves to be remembered.